And description. Oh, look at my little kid's tape on this chair. It's okay. Move here. Yes, sir.
All right, I will call to order the building codes committee. June 4, 6:01 p.m. In attendance. Mr. Allgood. Seth Duncan. Miller. Great. For you.
Thank you, sir.
Our first agenda item is public comment. Building.
Yes, sir.
Next will be our reading and approval of minutes from May 6th. Move approval is presented. Second. Motion of a second, any discussion? None. Communication.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, just a brief report for you tonight. Building permits have been issued for home construction for the 21 of the 42 townhomes going in at Maverick Yards. And in May, the planning commission conditionally approved the preliminary plat for the Ashmore Hills subdivision at the intersection of Range Road and Ashmore Road. That's subdivision with 72 townhomes. And lastly, there are 2 new businesses open in Bridgeway Station. Kyle Cafe will serve breakfast, bagels, breakfast bagels, sandwiches, baked goods, ice cream, and more. And desserts as a European bakery serving breakfast, lunch, desserts, freshly roasted coffee. Serve all afternoon.
Questions, comments?
Just one, I've had several people who've been passing by the pickle yard property, and they still see that there's the one building that building going to remain up, or does it get taken down?
Remain up, that would be but the main facility for pickle yards will be located.
Unfinished business, on to new business. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes, it's Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Because of a professional relationship I have with the petitioner on this item, I need to accuse myself and step out as long as this is an active item. 2 months ago.
Matt.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have first for you tonight, a petition for an annexation of about 23 acres. It's located at Conisty Road and Lakewood Drive, owned by Metro Connects. And the applicant is proposing to annex this property into the city as S1 property and to use the property consistent with that district. Right now, property, one of the tracks is already, there's 2 parcels. One of the parcels is already zoned S1 and the other is RS, so this will bring both in as S1. We have got the petition signed for one of the petition signed. Other property, I'm asking that committee go ahead and consider moving this forward in good faith. We expect that the city council meets and take this up for first reading.
Questions? I did have one question, because I noticed the note for comprehensive plans of. I think that says that this is that correct? It's supposed to be.
It was in the comprehensive plan. Well, so you got 2 things. Part of it's in the comprehensive plan, multi-family residential. And then you've also got a regional corridor depicted along Butler. And so while this is a little bit of a deviation from doing multifamily, It is consistent with kind of a region for those large type of uses. Associated with the region. There's a couple ways to look at it. And it's like, listen, like, but you also look at it and say, this is kind of region for designated. We are in the midst of doing a new comprehensive plan right now, so we know things that we'll expect as we move forward. New comprehensive plan, after it's been adopted, is that we'll keep us moving together with the future land use map and make amendments to it as needed as we go through these types of things.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we board council annexation 23.2 acres of the Coastal Road in Lakewood.
Motion. Second that motion. Those in favor, discussion. Favor. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign none. Next, we have appointments to the Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. Your Hall, would you like to comment on it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last item of business is relates to we have two members of the planning commission who have terms that are expiring in June. That includes Mr. Randy Eskridge and Mr. William Bixler, and two members of the zoning board of appeals who are in the same boat. Their terms expiring in June. That includes Mr. Joe Santel and Mr. All four would like to be, have their terms extended or be reappointed, and so that's what we have. As the support and recommendation of staff.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we forward to full council the approval of the appointments of Mr. Eskridge and Mr. Bixler to the planning commission, and the appointment of Mr. Santel and Mr. Parks to the zoning board of appeals as stated in or 3-year terms.
Second. In the discussion, I do have one question.
We did not advertise that specifically because of their interest in reappointment. We have had some applicants kind of go during the previous part of the year, but not at this current time.
The motion for the council. Those in favor, say aye. All right. Those like none. Council. We're on to our second public comment section. Any concerns? Adjournment. So moved. Second. Adjournment. Second. Favor? Aye. None. We are adjourned. 6:09 p.m. Well, that's I'm not done.
What was the? Okay, that's fine. I wasn't reading more into it, but I was just like, I'll just double check just to make sure. Yeah, and then. That was the one that I knew the 99, but I didn't know the other one, so I had to wait for David on that.
Thank you. Hi, we did. We did. I'm sure. Hi. Posting, I'm going same.
He's got a football playoff, flag football thing. Right.
I wasn't home, I worked in the office. All right, we'll call the second committee meeting to order at 6:10, public safety. Present are all committee members, including myself, Mr. Craylon, Mr. Allgood, city administrator, department heads and chiefs. We'll move directly into public comment. No public comment at this time. You have an opportunity at the end of the committee meeting as well. Reading and approval of the minutes will be the next item. What is committee's pleasure?
Motion to approve as submitted. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion, corrections, etc. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the 6th, say aye. Aye. None opposed. Motion carries unanimous. Reports from our city officers. We have Chief McComb is up first. Unlike some in attendance, you have a nice little. Right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only update I'm gonna give, I can give a thank you, big shout out to Bart Cumberland and his crew and Matt Cleveland of Public Works, helping get the equipment moved. We actually got 7 pieces of equipment that's actually being utilized now at our new facility, new headquarters.
Teamwork.
Absolutely.
All right, any questions, concerns for Chief? Everything's still going good? Hey, Chief,
Everybody's doing good?
thank you. Mr. Raiden?
Chairman for the committee. Just real quick with our budget, as we're winding down this year's fiscal budget, I'm happy with our managed to kind of stretch out our budget to do lots of upgrades this year. As you know, we're still awaiting the new bulletproof glass to come in. And of course, as safety and ADA is number one. I also want to make some changes to how judicial look aesthetically. And I was able to purchase some new furniture for the department. We got rid of the real dark broken furniture that's been there. I think they estimated 20 years, maybe years now. Now that we open up the window, you know, judicial kind of like first entry point, everybody that comes in. So no matter who's coming into City Hall for any department, they stop at our windows. But I think, look, now that we're open, to kind of look modern and like an airy. We've also been able to get some new file cabinets. We're getting some racks and some shelving. So not only does it look really nice, but it's also going to efficiently. I do want to thank Chief McComb for helping me file cabinet, but also delivering itself. And I know Public Works isn't here, but they've been incredible getting the furniture put together with 0 notice. The furniture got delivered before I got the email that it was shipped. So no one was expecting it. I think it was like 27 pieces. Got delivered in 14 minutes. But once that's all complete, once the window's in and all the furniture is put together, then hope maybe you want to come take a look and see how it looks. Then
Absolutely, that's going to be my question.
hopefully in a few weeks, I'm sure everyone is looking.
Just let us know when.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's exciting.
And thank you for your support. Changes and comments.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? All right.
No,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. It looks like we have Captain Farley with us tonight. Unless the chief and.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee tonight. First of all, I would like to publicly thank Director Lehman. Today, one of my officers brought up a signal sign that was turned over with green on top and green bottom over on Owens Lane. Notified Director Lehman this morning here in the staff meeting. He had it corrected before this afternoon. I think he actually personally went out there and did it himself instead of waiting the Department of Transportation, great state, and there's a note to cover it up, but Director Lehman took it upon himself, and that is great leadership. So, please speak. And tonight, I would like to report or present to you on the block camera system, if you're ready to receive it. So the block camera system, I think, going forward for the city of Mauldin is a critical piece of technology as we continue to advance. And it is an automatic license plate reader.
Still working.
Obviously,
Oh, there we go. Okay.
so currently we have free access to block, which is a technological advancement system that reads license plates plus vehicles that pass by through a camera system. Currently, other great surrounding agencies that we're great partners with use this technology to an advantage, not just to deter crime, but to detect and apprehend criminals that we're trying to make our community safer. Currently, we have access to the system throughout the United States for this month. At the end of this month, according to our memorandum of understanding, we will lose access to it. To continue to access, it will cost us $18,000. And going forward to actually implement the camera system inside the city of Mauldin, which we don't have, is $3,000 per camera. Wherever, how many ever we choose, or you as a council approve for us to do, and place them throughout the city strategically to help us detect crime, deter crime, and apprehend criminals that are committing not just violent offenses such as kidnapping, armed robbery, criminal sexual conduct, but to help with our elderly who sometimes go missing, and also just general help in solving investigative matters. The cameras are easily installed, and as you can see by the picture, most of them operate by solar power, which is an advantage because then you don't have to tap into a power source. Capabilities of the Falcon 25. It provides our police officers with investigative crimes access from the cruisers, their mobile data terminals, MDTs. The cameras are accessible within patrol cars, and it's efficient versus having to come back to the police department, conduct business, investigative matters. It gives them hands-free. Give you an example, which is not on the screen, Greenville City, Greenville County. Their officers can be in an intersection, so a vehicle can pass where the vehicle tag is placed into the National Crime Information Center, which is controlled by the FBI, and they get probably seconds, if not below a minute response to their NDTs with a geographical locator that puts them in the general area where that stolen vehicle last passed. So we're talking about efficiency and instantaneous results. Block itself retains everything for 30 days. The license plate numbers are not actually needed. You can have a vehicle description, put it in the system, and it can aid us. Just recently, we had an incident take place on Friday where we had a vehicle pursuit, and then afterwards, we were able to access the block camera system because the speeds increased to the point of where we gauged it was unsafe to continue the pursuit. So we disengaged, and then we went back and followed up. Unfortunately, we did not get a lead off of it because the license plate was not visible from the actual photograph that was taken from the camera that was on Main Street in the city of Greenville. Detectives can use this block system to determine whether a vehicle was or was not in the area, general area where a crime has been committed. And also for detection purposes, we're having problems throughout the city. We can strategically place the cameras, move the cameras going forward. As you see, this is an example of a officer using the block system on their MDT. An example, you see the license plate in the back, but it's not required. The information records the last time the vehicle visited the actual camera's location. License plates, of course, are very helpful. And the information is stored for no more than 30 days by block. And it's important, you'll see on the first slide, that the information is contained within the United States versus a shared cloud server
outside of the continental United States, which I think is real important for our citizens and the privacy of our citizens to maintain the Constitution. These are the current, I won't read all of these, but these are the current agencies that use the system. I was talking to an officer who was a prior Lawrence City police officer, and he advocated for the block system. And within 3 months, he saw, can't tell you the exact actual percentage, but he saw a significant reduction in crime attributed to the block system. Success stories. We have amber alerts, we have silver alerts, and also we have organized step rings throughout the country. The system will help us with the amber alerts on missing juveniles that attaches directly within the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, aka NICNIC. The silver alerts for our elderly, and there are some success stories. Recently, we had a double homicide in the city out on West Bowler and the Harbors, and the block system in Greenville County actually helped us, give us a direction of travel and the vehicle. Suspect vehicle was actually found in the county, so it actually benefited us by giving us a direction of travel, which helped investigators put together the puzzle after the crime. And Simpsonville had a great example of a person who was the victim of a liquid being dispersed on them. An investigation took place, and Simpsonville was able to gather information from the block system and track the vehicle throughout Greenville County from Heritage Park, and they were able to locate the subject and make a charge. What we will not use the block system for, if you approve of us going this route, the Constitution is extremely important to all of us. Privacy is extremely important. So we will not employ cameras at a residence or home. We will also not be using the system for the sole purpose of watching individuals who are not suspected of violating laws or ordinances within our city. I'm not going to read all this word for word, but the important part of this is the information is strictly for law enforcement purposes and not accessible by unauthorized persons. Each officer has to have an access code to get into it, which puts a footprint usage of the system. And as I've already mentioned, block maintains the data inside the United States. And it's important to know that the system only captures vehicles on public roadways and not private locations. Other considerations for you are the two other products, the Condor system and Raven. As you should know, we've had damage to our city parks from vandals who have caused a significant amount of damage. It may be a great thing to consider the Condor system for future protection and surveillance of our facilities. And there's also the Raven system. As our city continues to grow, as the population pulls into the city, Richland County and other agencies around use the Raven system as a shock call for vengeance. So those are just some potential examples of advanced technology. In summary, so our 2025 budget contains funding that will maintain our current system, $18,000, that will give us access until we are in a better position. We have put more strategic thought into the purchase of future cameras with your permission. It's important that we continue to work with our agencies around. And are there any questions at this point that I can clear up?
That's correct.
Just one thing, some of the concerns I've had about the Mr. Small private trail here is having security cameras there so that people can feel safe going and walking. Is this a system that will make them integrate with something for the small private?
I would highly recommend that going forward as we continue, as the Bella project continues, as that progresses, that would definitely be a system. It is more geared toward vehicles, passenger vehicles versus pedestrians and bicycles. So that will not give us our license plate reader condition. But it would definitely be a system where we don't want to surveil innocent people. But we could strategically place it at intersections throughout the city where, God forbid, if we have a vehicle accident or getting run and it hits somebody who's walking the trail, it could very much help us investigate that.
One of the things that has been lost in this couple of years. That where up in Charlotte, we had the trails, and they became kind of time ridden, and they had to put cameras in, that's why I had that in my head. Just because they're a nice trail in the woods, or hitting back, especially say teenagers, can get out of control too, so. Just as we're doing, it's gonna keep that in mind, that's also we need to consider.
Captain Clardy, would, on that same note, with the condor system that would be useful in parks, would that be something that could be placed perhaps on the trails that are away from the roadways, or is that not?
If I'm being totally honest, I'm not up to speed on the bundle system.
Okay,
I recently wrote about it, so I would.
just on that brief little slide there, just thinking that, Mr. Duncan, you have something?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I was just going to add in that we think that that might have that capability. We really want,
Yeah.
not there yet on that. We're getting close. That is something that we're monitoring and trying to think about. Obviously, the more immediate need is for parks, but that's kind of the secondary need. The first primary need was making sure we were comfortable with the system, maintaining access to the system. That $18,000 in continuation would allow us to receive 6 cameras. So, but we're not looking to necessarily install them just yet. Simply because we're still working with Flock to figure out where are the potential locations that they could go. They do have to go on private property, and just making sure that council is comfortable before pursuing the rest of that initiative. But the initial idea is to at least maintain access. And so we have budgeted for that for next year. But wanted to do a little bit more in depth tonight to really fully explain what the Flock system does, what it does not do, and then talk about how we're going to continue working with them to figure out the next steps on some of those other pieces as well.
Well, would our access come into an end at the end of this month, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Then is this something that we need to address this month, or,
So my plan had been that so long as council approves second reading of the budget, then that's a commitment that we're going to at least engage in the continuation of access. So I feel comfortable with moving forward with the agreement starting July 1st.
okay.
But we will not install any cameras until we've come back to council with a plan on how we want to do that and make sure that council is comfortable with the that new program that would be set up to do that.
So to summarize, upon second reading, just for committees information, upon second reading of the budget, it would include the funding to continue the block system.
Yes, ma'am.
So all good?
Thank you. So. The instant for the use was. That those cameras weren't in the city.
So Greenville City has one on Main Street, they have one on 290. In other locations may, but I'm not aware of them. So I can tell you in the last 8 months of 2-3 instances where we've used Flock. And they would have probably been very beneficial with the increase of auto breakings and thefts of motor vehicles inside of our newer developments, Park Woods on certain. I'm saying we could have definitely solved crimes, but it would have definitely enhanced our abilities to find. Right, the whole county is experiencing election. The young individuals, gang members, if you will, are going from Spartanburg, Greenville back to Spartanburg, and there are different sects of them. It's just not so. See any signs of stopping anytime soon, especially new construction. And the construction is coming to the city. That of lumber, that of building materials, it would definitely enhance our ability to actually be a lead to try to find or recover some of the building materials.
Right now, when you travel into the city of Greenville on 276, right past CF Sauer, there's a Flock system on, I believe it's on the right-hand side of the road, but it's coming into the city of Greenville. It's not, so our access to the system would allow us to look at that traffic if we're looking for a car of suspicion, but we don't have it the opposite way, coming out of Greenville into the city of Mauldin.
So the use.
Correct, yeah.
Why?
It's a DOT issue with Flock right now. They're trying to negotiate that, but there was a lawsuit a few years ago. I don't have the specifics on that, but in order to avoid DOT encroachment permit requests, it's easier just to install them on private property.
The other question is, after everything time goes away, so. My question is that enough time for investigations, or when something does happen, you at least stay that far to conclude your investigation?
Correct. We have access to the system. I believe they would give us access to download that like Axon does. For us now, we can share the capability by the Axon is absolutely. Thank you so much. So with this system, it would probably allow us to save it on part of our systems, but it is not used. Cameras that are collected throughout the city, if it's not used, it would be.
And the contract allows for 6 cameras.
No, sir. That is just.
Well,
I'm
sort
thinking
of.
from-
It's 6 under the $18,000 and then 3,000 for each additional camera. Yeah. Correct. Yes, sir.
Anything else?
I guess, you know, here, and I think you're talking, we don't be anything maybe for you can. So we want to safety, security, we'll find that right balance, and I think you've already brought those up, so I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right, we have no unfinished business, so we'll go into new business, which is page 6 and 7. Chief McCall has some. If you want to donate,
Yes, ma'am. Y'all have got the pictures all of it.
yes, sir.
I just sent the list.
It's pretty dope.
Crowbar's a crowbar.
Make a motion. Send full council. Recommendation to approve the resolution for donation of surplus animals to the Golden State Theater or something.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Third. Second, Mr. Morgan. Any discussion? If you're not, all those in favor for the motion to donate. Surplus handfuls to the Golden Strip Career Center for firefighter training program, say aye. Aye, none opposed, motion carried. So, thank you, Chief. All right, back to public comment.
Mm-mm.
Seeing
Yes, ma'am.
none,
No, ma'am.
committee concerns. Good. We'll have on adjournment. They were adjourned at 6:34. Say aye. Aye, stand adjourned. Thank you. Use my book.
You have yours?
Mr. Reynolds, is that-
You don't want. Oh, okay.
Okay. 6:34. Director, finance director, and the administrator, Mr. Is that you? So you will recall first, second item to be public comment. Anyone or express like you.
Sure.
Items on the agenda this evening, kind of mayor report, please state your name and there. This is not an active board.
Go.
Terry Garrett, 214 Fairfield Drive, Mauldin, South Carolina. One thing I do have is good memory, so this should come back. Just wanted to kind of give you a little overview of history. In 2014, 2015 timeframe, we undertook a review of what was then called the City Employee Handbook. It was an entertaining thing we spent in that. We had a diverse committee. We had very passionate discussions with different aspects of this. We undertook an employee handbook that was a hodgepodge of the entire history of Mauldin for a long time, and you put a piece in there and you failed to read what preceded that or came after that. So it didn't always read good, and it left a lot of interpretation for various levels of personnel. One of the things that came out of that, though, was a positive recommendation, not only for an update to the policy, but also to add an HR director. We've come a long way. This committee now is looking at potential updates to that. And there are certain sections in there that was very passionate discussions that we fixed some good old boy systems that existed back then. I would hope we would take the time to study this one in detail, past, present, and future, and not undo the hard work we did 30 years ago, and not allow potential favoritism to creep back in there. Specifically, I outlined to you the vacation policy, or now we call it annual leave policy. I would say read that carefully and play what if. Play what if in the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. Look at the data. You've got something in your packet that says out of approximately 200 employees, 16 of them potentially could benefit from the possible change there. Look at that 16. That represents 8%. Approximately 8% of your employees. Be sure you look at a policy that fits all of your employees. This is special interest group. Saying that 8% is a special interest group, but be careful when you start taking policies and adjusting them for those kind of things. Also express that you review why vacation time or annual leave away from your job is a physical and mental health issue. So be sure you take that and you encourage that. Just carrying over beyond a month and a half of vacation time. A month and a half of vacation time, guys. Put a financial number on that. Extrapolate it out. So if you know my background, you know I'm a data person. I like numbers. I like to argue the numbers. Ms. King and I had a very passionate discussion for many months about that. So we had a good policy that came out of it, and I appreciate your time.
That was nice. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your comment, and as always, we appreciate you bringing to the podium and understanding employee handbook. First draft, 2018, I think it was, whatever it was, but thank you for your comments there. Okay, moving on, we have reading and approval of minutes.
Motion to approve as submitted.
Approve as submitted, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion in a second, any further discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approved as submitted, thank you. Next item can be your report, Mr. Thursday.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, committee members, council. Just got a couple quick things. One, the Municipal Association's annual meeting is next month. So I believe Ms. Miller has sent out sign-up sheets. So if you're able and wanting to join in the fun in the city of Greenville for that, let us know as soon as possible, because we will have a very small window to register folks for that event here soon. Also, I do want to give a couple great team shout outs to some employees who I think have just really gone well above and beyond and did some remarkable things recently. So in the police department, we have a couple great standout employees, but one that has really just taken a special project to the next level, and that is Officer. I knew I should have wrote it down. my mind just went blank, trying to set that up, but, Zalumis, there we go. And so Officer Zalumis, what he's done is he's been working for the last about a month and a half now with Duke Energy and Lawrence Electric to reduce the number of out streetlights that we have. As you may know, there's a portal that Duke has where you can go in and self-report, and they get to it when they get to their maintenance request. But at one point in time, Zalumis had seen that we had over 100 streetlights that were out. And so he has worked with Duke Energy, and we're down to 8, and it may be even less than 8 now. So very, very happy about what he's doing there, because that is something, one, we pay for it monthly, but two, it's a crime deterrent, it's a safety issue. And so I'm grateful for that focus that he has had on that. Also, big shout outs for this weekend. We had more than 300 and I think 40 plus registrants for the inaugural 5K at Bridgeway. Great turnout, beautiful weather. Can't wait to do it again next year. I did not win, but I did participate and finish. So that was nice. But actually, Johnson Turnover in the fire department placed 51st overall. I think he cheated because he had his canine, he had his dog pulling him along. So Miss Abercrombie said I could borrow her Huskies next year for maybe a double advantage. I don't know. We'll see. But we're excited about that. We appreciate everyone helping out. And our Friday night concerts have been tremendous. We had another great success this past Friday night. Looking forward to the continued success the rest of this year. And we have some great events coming up in June and July and beyond. And I'll cover those at the council meeting later this month. So that's what I have for now. Oh, and I have one more, unless Holly's gonna mention this. Okay. So we got some great news that we have been notified by GFOA that we are once again we're receiving what do they call it, or achievement of excellence for financial reporting for our annual comprehensive financial report. So we're excited about that. That's my report. So keeping it rolling. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Duncan. Next up is
Um. Just, gonna do you a quick overview, since we're all approaching that time of year. Revenues in the general fund are looking really good. Of course, we still have some major ones, namely the municipal association business license. Which will not come in until right at the end of June or first of July. And then overall, the revenues within the general fund are looking really good right now too. Of course, there's still left, but so right now we're looking pretty good on both fronts there. If there's any specific questions, I'll be glad to.
what the municipal association, is that the people in insurance you have?
Yes. Yes, it's the business license for the insurance that they, and it's usually a couple $1 million.
We would miss it. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. What is pretty good? I mean, you haven't, I know you're conservative. I've been around the block with you a few times on this, but, is it HA numbers, are they good, like higher? Or?
Oh, I'm just looking at general fund. I didn't delve into the HDA.
Okay.
It's general fund.
Percentage.
Well, I mean, right now you're sitting at, we budgeted 19 million, and 77, and year to date so far, it's 17,517,000 for revenues. And then you've got 2 million at least in that particular line, franchise fees, you got other stuff coming in, so we're gonna be good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kate. Okay. All hands. Thank you. All right, Mr. McCutcheon. All right, Charter. Doesn't tell us what you're updating us on.
Mr. Chairman, committee, thank y'all for having me here today. Along with working on the draft that you have today, we have begun to recruit heavily for a lot of the positions that we have already approved, council had, so that we'll be ready for that. And want you to know we're gonna be working as hard as we can to make sure we have the best candidates to fill those positions. Most of them, all of them are very for the six. Sorry.
I said, have you found recruiting to be a bit easier over the last year?
Yes, it is. That's one thing I'm gonna touch as we talk about the handbook, that we can say it, we are becoming one of the employers of choice in the municipality world that we live in. I am amazed that when we put, advertising it out, we get folks that from the county, rural county, to apply, from the city, career, Fountain Inn. They come in from all over Anderson. And the last our two inspectors we got came from Broome County. So I mean, we are becoming an employer of choice, and that's what we want to do. We want good candidates to seek us out in the company.
Thank you. Certainly, this came solution to trying to give you as many tools as possible. We appreciate that. Rolling right into. You can stay there, and we got an input coming out. Do you have anything? Any questions, comments? Very good. We have no unfinished business or the employee handbook. Mr. Duncan and I talked about. For this, we started this process probably 5 months ago, and as it took a little longer, it started building more steam and expanding past from what we were looking at initially. So what you have before you is a culmination of several months of opportunity to address nuances of the handbook. So this is what we've asked Mr. Custom to do, to do a broad overview of what you have, give us a chance for some back and forth, and this will be something we're not looking for action tonight. It's the board of council. We still have the employee or attorney who needs to review it with his recommendation, where he thoughts are there. So this will just be a chance for us to put all the stuff on the getting involved on the steps. But I do appreciate your hard work. Before we get into it, I do appreciate your hard work. So with that, Mr. Duncan, Mr. Thank you.
Staff, as we went through this, we utilized best practices and looked at around us at the municipal association handbook, a lot of the local municipalities around them. And you'll see that several new policies are being proposed to be incorporated in relating to equal opportunity, workplace safety, workplace guidelines, and wage and hour of work. Now, many of these are really restating or detailing out either a state or a federal employment law or regulation. And to give you a for instance, is remember when we went through the FLSA overtime, that is now spelled out in there. So a lot of those you'll see that ADA, things of that nature. Initially, we are kind of clarifying and changing nomenclature on that we use actually in the organization that was in the handbook, such as annual leave is now, vacation leave is actually now annual leave. Civil duty is now called jury duty, and funeral leave is called bereavement pay. So just kind of clarifying those, and also we're asking for you to look at using the floating holiday and the excess leave for forfeitures dates. We want to move those to the calendar year, not the fiscal year. And that will help employees kind of gauge when it's the start of the year, end of the year. And I know from there what I need to do and when I need to use it. Also, one policy, the grievance policy, we're asking to be dropped. It's very repetitive in nature. And also the labor attorney suggested that we do remove it. Okay. And if you look at it, when there is a grievance, it's usually for suspension, termination, promotion or demotion of that nature. And the grievance committee hears it, then they, make a recommendation to the city administrator, who can either accept the recommendation or he can deny it. But when you look at that and you know, most of those decisions involve the city administrator, me, and the department head. So it's kind of a hodgepodge of things to do. And also with, if you look at in the new, proposed handbook, Article 2, Section 6, it is a complaint procedure and investigation. So we have that already in there, and we have the open door policy. And, once I went over that with Kevin Strong, he said, as long as we've got those two, we're good to go. And the grievance is an optional thing, it is not required. All right, we are also proposing that to enhance the city's competitive benefits, because thank goodness to you folks on council, we did the comp and class, and that has helped us tremendously as far as recruiting. But we'd like to go from 7 steps on the annual leave steps to 5. And what that'll do is that'll allow the folks that are coming in 1 year to 4 years, they would automatically earn 96 a year instead of 80. That will put us in line with the state and also the local jurisdictions that we're competing. Then we would also like to, within that reducing those steps, is allow people that are employees that are at their 20-year of service to earn 200 hours instead of waiting for the 25th year. And that puts us in step with everybody else around us. And that also helps us to encourage longevity. As I'm telling you folks, the long tenured employees here are the backbone of this organization in this city. That the knowledge that's there and everything is just tremendous. So we're asking you to do that. Then we lastly are proposing, and I want to use this word, limited annual leave buyback. So that employees that have above, right now you can carry up to 240. At a fiscal year now, we're proposing it goes on annually. Anything that you have on vacation above 240 is for loose. Maybe we could buy that back up to 40 hours, and anything above that, they would lose. And now, of course, the firefighters, that would be 32 hours. And just to give you, for instance, we heard, 16 employees, when we were doing unlimited buybacks, 1 year it cost us, the last year we did it, it was around $71,000. Now with what we have now, it would be around $22,000. So it's a significant change. And it also keeps them from losing a benefit that they've earned. So we'd like for you to take a look at that. And we know that you're gonna take a look at it for the, talk about it for a month and bring it back. We've got a cheat sheet for you, that kind of labels out what the change is, give you a change details and the reasoning for it. And if you have any questions, please give me a call and we can discuss it and go through there. But we appreciate all the work that, as you said, that we put into it. We appreciate the work that y'all have to go through now to take a look at it.
Very good. Any immediate questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm glad we're not taking any action on this tonight, because I was concerned that with the document being since we have not budgeted for the vacation buyback, what is the potential fiscal impact that we need to budget?
So I'm just thinking,
So as Mark pointed out, we, in just doing a test model today based on who would be eligible today, that's where we ran that scenario and found that the cost would be about 22,000. It's absorbable within the constraints of the budget for FY25. but it's not as huge as it was prior. So because that's dispersed amongst many departments, it's not a single department. There could be the capacity, and that's generally because we don't stay fully staffed in every department except for maybe finance for the entire year. Finance and fleet maintenance are the only two that have consistently had 100% fill rate. But this is really focused on those mid-career to long tenured employees because I believe the number is about 78% of our workforce has been with the city for less than 10 years. So this was an idea of how do we create something that maybe we've had before, but isn't the same, is a much lower cost benefit to the city, but could have a encouragement for those more mid and senior year tenured employees with the city. But as far as budget absorption, the cost that we modeled could be absorbed for the most part across the board. Just due to
22 was worst case.
no, we really won't know that until later in the fiscal year, so it can change a little bit, but we don't anticipate a huge wave of people being eligible for it simply because you have to get to that maximum. The way it was initially designed out was that you take a snapshot picture on November 1st. Those with over the maximum would be eligible. They submit an application and only the hours up to 40 hours would be eligible for buyback. And so that immediately limits the pool of potential recipients to very small. And the idea there is that this is how we kind of avoid some of the financial issues we had with the last version, which is why it was 71, 72, whatever thousand, which is a much bigger hit. Could it over time be utilized by more individuals? Sure, but those are also individuals who end up being here longer. We do encourage people to take leave and want them to take leave as much as possible, but sometimes just the business interest of the day or the week doesn't allow for that. It's one of those where, and also sometimes in trying to force people to take leave, it ends up creating an overtime situation for someone else. So, this employee gets to take those hours off. However, we're paying for someone else to work time and a half to backfill that capacity because we do have to have a certain minimum number, especially in the fire department, police department, public works. Those are the ones that we have to have people working those jobs every day. So just a confluence, and this is just, again, a conversation, an idea starter. I know that this was a very popular benefit, both the longevity benefit and the vacation buyback. And the way that I saw this was a way to touch on both of those elements, but at a much lower cost to the organization overall, as a way of figuring out how do we keep people here longer through their career and aren't seeing such high turnover rates within our first 10 years of having them at the city. So it's just an idea. It's a starting point conversation. And if there's other conversations or other ideas that council members or committee members have with regards to low cost employee benefits, there's stuff that is targeted specifically for public safety individuals with regards to, I think we've seen some from down payment assistance that IRMO does. Others will pay officers a monthly stipend to live in the city. So there's a whole host of other ideas out there that we'd be happy to consider and model for the committee. Just let us know what direction you'd like us to go in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Guys, I haven't calculated. So. So I think the current handbook was approved in 2020, but what some of you may not know is we spent probably about 2.5 agonizing years to think like it. Seriously, it was probably 2 years that we had many long meetings, but it was antiquated and needed to be updated at that point in time. Understanding that, I know I like the majority of it, especially getting away from vacation time. Like verbiage that was changed, the grievance, we're right to work state, so that really. never been a big one. So I think it's all great. All of that to say, my recommendation, Wes, would be that committee at some point between now and this committee meeting, try to have a workshop so that we can, the three of us can sit down, with our leadership and in an intimate upstairs environment and literally talk through this. You know, I just think that's workshops tend to bring out ideas that we don't think about when we're sitting here on the side. So I would like to do that. By all means, I don't pretend to know what there is to know about the handbook and the updates about that, but I am familiar with the state benefits, as it relates to municipality benefit. And I would just like the opportunity for us to kind of freely speak and work through it and look at the pros and cons, because as the mayor noted, we did take into consideration numbers and points and accumulated leave and at that time, and I kind of feel it today at that point of where if you have 6 weeks vacation, then you need to take your 6 weeks. However, I understand with the safety department that fire and police, that's not always easy to do. So it's easy for me to say as a person that would be sitting in office that I can figure out I'm taking my time to be out the December, that's what it looks like, but not everyone has the ability to do that. So that was a long-winded request.
Thank you, Ms. Excellent idea. Think of way to do with that electronics was.
Well, and I apologize for just that, you know, this was all coming together, so it past and this has been, you know, a Friday morning or a Thursday evening, whatever that looks like, and, you know, it might just be an hour and a half. I think we would all benefit from that before we come back and look at it in July, just about.
I have no problem with that, but that's Mr. Huntington, or how we can do, we'll get together communications on, when and how, I think, in totality, what was presented, the Ms. King's point, there's a lot of really good information here. Some of it that was probably necessary to, you know, years is old. Has changed in 40 years and what employees look like and the market in general has changed. So adapting our handbook to accommodate that is an important thing to consider. So that said, I think hold some of my questions, some of their concerns until we can put together a date and a conversation.
Absolutely.
That
Yes.
may be the attorney to wait.
Absolutely, yes, sir. And I'll send out an email tomorrow and we see if we can find a date. I've got a conference next Wednesday through Sunday, but beyond that, we got a wide open schedule for the month, especially in the evenings. So that'd be good. Yeah. Okay. We'll take care. I don't know. It's up to the chair. Yes, sir. I can tackle that one. We thought we were done with this, but then we realized that in going through the final list that we submit to the county, that there was one parcel that needed to be included. And it's the parcel 176, which is actually Indigo Point clubhouse and pool. Yeah, the pool, we skipped over it a couple of years ago because it wasn't built yet. Well, it's built. And now we need the ordinance, this last ordinance, to reflect that. We are looking at some new ways of doing this in the future, because we do know that there's at least three projects. I don't see David in the room anymore, that will have pump station fees in the future. So we're looking at a more comprehensive way to do this instead of having to try to remember every parcel and every plat. But that said, the business before council or the committee tonight is a request to forward to council this one parcel, which will have a maintenance fee of $73 for the next year, and that is the same amount that is applied to the other parcels inside Indigo Point. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, moving forward, council approval and ordinance establishing sewer pump station for an additional parcel of the Indigo.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Motion, second, for approval, all that Mr. Matty said, all those, is there any discussion on the item? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Here is unanimous. Send the recommendation of approval. Last item I have here, is going to be comment. Do we have any other comment? Yes.
Real quick, I guess that I did being on the committee meeting and I'm going to put this under human resources.
Okay.
But please be sure, honestly, I had to let Mr. Freeman know that every department head that stood up here tonight, representing these three committee meetings, bragged on him and his department. And I know a couple of weeks ago, when recreation had vandalism at one of our parks, I think that also was taken care of before lunchtime that same day. So shout out to Mr. Freeman and his folks.
Yes, ma'am. Well,
Thank you.
Recognize they knew he wasn't here.
Well, in all fairness, the committee did not meet. Mr. Freeman is here. For everybody.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Kane.
Thank you.
Committee concerns?
Second.
Favor.
Aye.
thank you, everybody.
That was fun.